Although Taco Bell may have popularized the idea of a crunchy taco shell inside of a soft flour tortilla, one of our favorite Dallas restaurants makes a version that's way, way better. It's got beans as kind of the glue for the two tortillas, and it's a thing of beauty. It's really easy to make at home too, so let me show you how to do it. The key things for our recipe today is we're gonna make a charred jalapeno ranch that is just out of this world. We're gonna make thick, chunky beans to act as our binder between our two tortillas. We're gonna make our white people taco night beef, and then we're gonna put the whole thing together. Super straightforward. These tacos feature one of the ultimate underrated salsas out there, jalapeno ranch. I know it sounds so ridiculous to say because no one thinks tacos in ranch, but taco joints jalapeno ranch is one of the most delicious things you'll ever have. And this is my V for into a broiler. I'll put 2 jalapenos, 2 serranos, and then half an onion. I'm gonna save 2 crushed cloves of garlic to add into the broiler right at the end. I don't want those burning too quickly. We want deep, dark, charred color on the skins of the jalapenos and serranos. That's gonna give us a lot of smoky flavor. This is kind of like a charred, smoky jalapeno ranch. It's amazing. With those out of the way and roasting, I'm gonna do a little bit of preparation for my beans. If you are a very patient person, you can use dried beans, but canned beans are so efficient and such a pantry staple. For this, I need half an onion that I'm gonna dice pretty finely, and a jalapeno. If it was small, I would use 1 jalapeno. This one's pretty large, so I'm gonna dice up half of it. Just into a dice, doesn't need to be anything crazy. This is gonna cook down with some olive oil before adding the beans in. I like to have a good vegetable base of flavor, but sometimes when I make beans, I also just throw a can in, season it with dried seasonings and some hot sauce and call it a day. That is delicious as well. Last things with the cutting board, I like to have fresh chives in my jalapeno ranch, so I'm gonna just thinly slice some of those. You can rate my chives all you want. I know they're not perfect. This is like a 3 out of 10 on the rate my chive scale, I bet. Once the jalapenos and serranos are pretty much fully charred, go ahead and throw the garlic in and give it another 30 seconds or so. You're looking for pretty much blackened color on all the peppers. Onions, if they're really black, they taste kind of acrid and acidic and bitter. So I'm gonna take off the really darkened outer shell and just leave the softened brown onion underneath. Go ahead and take the seeds out of the serranos and the jalapenos, take the tops off. If you had a smaller food processor, this would work a lot better. I run into this with almost every recipe I try to use a food processor for. This model is just too big for everyday 2 people use, and so I often have to add some kind of liquid to get the vegetables going. All of the vegetables are going in, so our jalapenos, our serranos, our onion, and our garlic are going in to make this paste. For me, I had to add some oil to get things really mixing, which caused the paste to look a little weird, but it still tastes delicious. Most ranches are kind of a combination of sour cream and mayo in different proportions. I like about equal parts sour cream or skyr or Greek yogurt and mayonnaise, and I like Kewpie mayo for it. I like to thin it out quite a bit with some whole milk. This thickens up in the fridge a lot. So if you don't add enough milk, you're gonna end up with a really, really thick ranch, and that's okay. You can just adjust it the next day or when you use it next. Just take it out of the fridge and see how thick it is. For seasonings, salt and pepper, super straightforward. You could also add garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, lots of different stuff to this. I'm just gonna keep it simple. Mix it together and taste it. I don't add all of the paste right away because the serranos can be pretty hot. In my case, I needed all of it, but just save a little bit back just in case you're not as spicy as I am. This jalapeno ranch is perfect for our tacos, so set that aside, put it in the fridge for now. It's gonna be great anytime you need it. Into a hot pan, I'm gonna add some oil just to cook our onions, garlic, and jalapenos. Once our vegetables are softened, depending on how diced they are and how hot your heat is, this could take 3 to 7 minutes. Once it looks like this, go ahead and add in your can of beans. The good thing about canned beans like this is they're already cooked. They're plump and delicious kind of on their own. Most beans are just cooked in salt and water when they're canned like this, which gives us a really good neutral base of flavor to add a bunch of different stuff to. Normally I drain my beans. This time I wanted to see what would happen if I didn't drain them. Worked well. Sometimes I just get weirded out by the bean goop. It's not a big deal though if you want to drain it or if you want to leave all of the bean goop there. Totally up to you. Some good generic seasonings for any beans are going to be chicken powder, which is like chicken bouillon MSG powder. It makes them taste rich and delicious and like they've been cooked a lot longer than they actually have. Think of this as instant chicken soup powder. Cumin, garlic powder, onion powder, cayenne pepper, smoked paprika, all of those are going to be delicious in beans. No matter if you drain off the bean goop or leave it in, you're gonna need to have water on hand to adjust the texture. Add enough water to coat everything to make sure that the beans are a little bit submerged, and then just let this gently bubble away for 15 to 20 minutes. After that bubbling has happened, I'm gonna grab a spoon and just mash the beans. As you crush these, you're gonna figure out how thick it's gonna get. Again, just keep water around to adjust the texture as needed. You can just leave these on the stove to stay warm while we work on our beef. This is 1.5 pounds of ground beef going into a hot pan. I like a tall-sided pan for this so I can really mix around everything. The key to good tasting taco beef, honestly, is in the browning. So your first stage of cooking it cooks off a lot of the water in the beef, especially if you're using, like I am, this was previously frozen. Got this out of my freezer. The water that's kind of in the beef needs to cook off. So you're gonna cook it in one layer, mix it around, and then let it sit until you start to hear sizzling. I find this tends to happen in stages, and you can really hear once the water is cooked off. It goes from boiling sounding, and you can see lots of big bubbles, and then it goes to that frying sound, which is where the flavor is going to start to happen. Once the frying sound starts to happen, make sure you're mixing the beef so nothing is burning. Keep it at this stage for quite a while. This is when our flavor is really going to develop. This is when you want to season it. Things that went into the beans are great here. So caldo de pollo, that chicken bouillon, or the tomato version of that powder works really well in any kind of ground beef for tacos. Salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, smoked paprika, all of those things belong in taco beef, I think. And just add them to your taste preference. It's really hard for me to tell you exactly how much to add because every time I make it differently. The two things that I add that I don't think most people do are either soy sauce or Maggi, kind of some sort of liquidy MSG seasoning. I also like to add browning, which is just kind of like a caramel color flavor ingredient. This liquid bottle that you can buy. You've probably never bought it before unless you make a lot of gravy. It makes things look and taste quite a bit richer. Helps a lot for taco beef. I find that if your taco beef looks a little pale, you can add a little browning and it kind of cheats the system. It's up to you if you want really dry, crunchy taco meat or if you want liquidy, saucy taco meat. I like liquidy saucy, so I like to add quite a bit of water and then a cornstarch slurry. To make a cornstarch slurry, you just put like a teaspoon of cornstarch with 2 teaspoons or so of cold water. I don't like to add this to a really, really hot pan because the cornstarch thickens at the boiling point. So if your cornstarch slurry hits the pan and immediately boils, you'll get really big pockets of super thickened cornstarch. Mix it together and then add it to the pan when the pan is off heat. This makes it glossy and saucy and flavorful and like unctuous. It's kind of the perfect type of taco meat if you're into like a Tuesday taco night in the Midwest. The meat's done, the beans are done, you can set those aside and let those stay warm. For the actual shells themselves, this is where the magic really happens. We've got to turn straight from the fridge corn tortillas into those crispy, delicious interior shells that make this taco so good. To do that, get a small pan of oil over like medium heat, and once you can drop in a tortilla and it starts to fizz and bubble around the edges, it's hot enough. I never measure it. This is probably like 275 to 300 degrees or so. Drop them in and then use tongs to fold over the tortilla and kind of hold it in place. I tend to flip it back and forth between both sides so they're getting nice and equally crispy. It doesn't take a long time. The bubbling is kind of your indicator for when all of the water is cooked out of the tortilla and you got a nice crispy shell. So when it stops bubbling aggressively, you're gonna want to take it out and let it drain off on like a rack or something. They tend to fuse together into one kind of hard to separate tortilla. So be sure to put it upside down, let the oil drain off, and that's gonna help it set into more of that like taco shell shape. If this was a cheesy gordita crunch, the outer shell would be like a pita bread, but at Taco Joint, they just use flour tortillas, which I like. It's a little bit less thick, it's less heavy. Grab a flour tortilla, warm it in a pan, and then add cheese. Let the cheese melt. You can just put a lid on, let it melt, and then add beans on top of the cheese. If you do it the opposite way, the cheese tends to not stick to the crunchy shell on the inside, and then you're stuck with like floppy opening taco shells. It just doesn't really work that well. The beans are much stickier for the actual crunchy shell. Just use your tongs to seal it together, and those are the double shells totally taken care of. I mean, you build your taco how you want. For me, I want ground beef, I want lettuce, I want cheese. Taco Joint has tomatoes on these. Me, I always want to skip it. I never want tomatoes on my tacos, and I never want tomatoes on my burgers. Please don't do it. They're so gross and so watery, and I hate it. The last key is dousing these bad boys in that jalapeno ranch. It's like the most magical, beautiful thing you could ever imagine. It's voluptuous in its curves and crisp. Delicious. Taco Joint has tons of incredible tacos. Breakfast tacos were a constant staple, especially at the Peak location. My wife and I would go all the time. Probably once a week, we'd go get breakfast tacos and a tub of jalapeno ranch. At this point, I normally try to get a bunch of B-roll, get my hero shots or whatever before actually eating. But I was so jazzed about having these and I was so hungry that I just crushed one before really doing anything. And it was amazing. It was so good. That almost never happens in videos like this. To me, at least, this is like the most delicious thing on the planet. The difference between a freshly fried corn tortilla to get that crispy shell versus one of those stale ones you'd get out of a box, fry them fresh yourself and get a way better, delicious, crispy texture that way. Let's be honest, this is like white people taco night beef. And I've got nothing against white people taco night. At this point, I think it is very much its own category. I feel like that discussion's been had. White people taco night exists solely separate from real tacos. And I don't think that's a bad thing though. The jalapeno ranch, this is my version of jalapeno ranch. This is kind of like V6 that I've been developing. Charred jalapenos, charred serrano, lot spicier, I think, than the one you would get at taco joint, but I really love that. If you've been following this channel for a while, that's not surprising to you. There's not much more I can say about this thing. It's perfect, it's beautiful, it's simple, delicious, crispy, soft, all of the textures in one. It's perfect. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like the video and subscribe. Massive shout out to the amazing people supporting me on Patreon. If you're interested in some behind the scenes and extra content, go ahead and check out patreon.com/CameronMarty. They get some cool benefits for supporting the channel and I get to keep making videos. So it's a win-win. With summer about to be in full effect, I know people are gonna be eating together and you wanna have like those big meals outside. Go ahead and watch this video about Korean barbecue at home. I run through everything you need to know to replicate it and get it really, really tasty in your own home. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna crush the rest of this. Cheers. It is the BBL of tacos. This is straight up, I went to taco joint and they gave me a BBL.